Garza Law, Tennessee Baseball Extra Innings, presented by the Garza Law Firm, online at garzalaw.com. Call in 865-200-5402. That's the TLD Logistics Hotline. This is the final time that we are live on Extra Innings for this season. tclub.team, X Spaces, Twitch, and YouTube. I'm Will Heflin. Tennessee falls to Arkansas 11-4. Ends our season at 46-18. Balls 5 straight super regionals, fall 2 victories short of a third straight trip to Omaha. What would have been the 4th time in the last 5 years. There will be a new champion for college baseball this season. Arkansas is the first and only top 5 seed that will advance this year in the tournament. North Carolina fell today in Chapel Hill to Arizona. They were the 5 seed. So Arkansas, the highest seed remaining. LSU at 6 also remains. And then after that, you'll have Florida State or Oregon State. They'll go off at 9 p.m. tonight in a winner-take-all game 3. Coastal Carolina, Arizona, looks like Louisville has punched their ticket. Duke and Murray State are going to game 3. So there's your picture of what remains. We're going to talk about Tennessee. Liam Doyle seemed a little off. I thought he was trying to control his emotions and kind of slow the thing down so he could get deep into it and not waste that adrenaline too early in this outing. He just, for whatever reason, didn't pitch great at Baum Stadium either time. The turning point in the game was the 4th inning. Every pitch matters, I know. But the 4th inning, Tennessee loads the bases with nobody out. You've got your best hitter, your most dangerous hitter at the plate in Andrew Fisher. You ground into a double play, then Inslee flies out. You got 1 run after being bases loaded and nobody out. You fail to even tie the game. And then Arkansas turns around and throws a 5 spot on the board. And that was the difference. And that was painful. That was painful. We're going to dissect the game scientifically. We'll bring callers in on our TLD Logistics Hotline. But I do want to first put this out there that this team was fun to root for. They truly were. They were awfully frustrating at times. There's no denying that. But they were talented. It was a good group of dudes. The 2025 base Vols never once had a publicly known off-the-field issue. Just a good group of guys. And there are going to be a lot of money made in the draft in a couple weeks. And there will be successful businessmen and whatever else to come out of this group. So I appreciate them. Making it to the Super Regionals after the things they dealt with down the stretch was a nice accomplishment. It really was. Did they meet their goals? No, they didn't. And that's okay. It's a tough sport, and the other team's trying to. So I wanted to put that out there first. Disappointing loss, but Arkansas is playing really well. They're in their home ballpark. It was going to be a tall hill to climb, and Tennessee just didn't get what they needed. They needed a couple things to go their way. They were never able to get the Arkansas Stadium, that fan base, too nervous, right? They took the lead for all of 5 minutes in the series, and as soon as they gave it up, what was a 2-out homer in game 1 to make it 3-2, they never led again. And that was early in the game. So you never really were able to get Baum Stadium tense and see if that could play in your favor. So as we wait on a couple more people to trickle in, we'll go to the phones. TLD Logistics Hotline on Garza Law Extra Innings. Welcome in. You're on the air.
Hey, Will, it's Andrew.
Andrew from Maryville. How are you?
I'm all right. It's kind of a sad day that's over, but we're at the point now where losing in the supers to the 3 seeds a failure, and that's a blessing in and of itself. Just want to say thank you for this show. been great. Getting it after every game. It's kind of hard to break down baseball after a full weekend because each game's so different. So getting it after every game's been great. Just appreciate you doing the show this year, man.
Well, I appreciate you a ton for calling in and sharing good thoughts and always being nice to me. So thanks back to you, Andrew from Maryville.
Oh yeah. It was just kind of a microcosm of the season. At the plate, just too many holes in the lineup, and up till this weekend, Fisher and Keelan have been great, and they just kind of didn't have it. And Keelan especially, Fisher still, he's just too good to not get on base, but wasn't quite himself. I don't think Fisher hit into more than maybe 2 or 3 ground or double plays all year, and he has 2 this weekend, which was just shocking. But and then on the mound, the 2 strike, 2 out hits, that grand slam, that thing was up and away at 98, and he got it off the end. I don't know how that went out.
Tip the cap. But the pitch before it was strike 3. So.
Yeah. It was. The umps were bad again today. I thought there was a lot of pitches on that ESPN Statcast that looked pretty good.
Yep.
But that's the best team in the country. But even if Vandy and Texas and everybody was still in there, they're the best combo of hitting and pitching. And we didn't. We obviously lost, but the season was lost when we lost 6 out of our 7 final series and 4 at home. If you win a couple of those, we're probably hosting right now against maybe a Murray State or something like that. And instead, we got that kind of draw. And actually, it'd have been better to be ranked a bit lower. We could have actually been hosting like a Louisville or a UTSA right now.
Yeah, no doubt. Higher or lower. But, it would have been nice to be where Ole Miss was because, like you said, we would have been hosting Murray State and Lindsey Nelson, which that bunch is nothing to be scoffed at. But,
oh, no.
Tennessee, tough draw. Really tough draw, especially when you see how the way it played out when they were the only one of the 2 top 5 seeds to even make it through the regionals. So, yeah, kind of unfortunate there, but you lace them up and play, and I didn't think Tennessee looked scared of Arkansas. They just didn't execute.
No, it just the approaches at the plate weren't all that great. They have every pitcher they have can land an off speed in the zone, which makes it so tough. And we just didn't have the bats, unfortunately, and the guys that were in slumps never regressed back to the mean, and it seemed like our guys that were hitting well did regress back to the mean in a bad way. So it's just kind of I think we got everything out of this team we could have. You compare it to last year, that core last year had been together for 2 or 3 years. They'd been there before, and it was kind of building up to last year, and it ended up working. So hopefully, Clark, Newstrom, Grimmer, Abernathy, who last at bat of the year finally got a homer. It was great to see.
Right.
But I think that's got to be it next year. Is that young core's got to come together with some experience, and every single one of them's had a lot of playing time, and hopefully next year's the year. Definitely should have a lot of talent again. But thanks again for the show, Will.
All right, man. Appreciate your time. Have a good week. I'm sure Dave's ready to talk about Jay Abernathy. So, welcome in. You're on the air. Welcome in. Dave? 3, 2, 1. All right. Welcome in. You're on the air.
Hello, Will. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Normally I call in during football mostly, but I do like baseball. I played it as well. But usually, don't have all the opportunity. But I do watch them, and I just wanted your take. Do you think that when we're in the moment, especially the pitchers, like you mentioned Doyle, actually, to me it appeared that they just would lose focus, right? At the key moments, like trying to get the ball to drop at the top of the zone, and next thing you know, it's like he blanks out, and it's like another foot higher than it should be, or I don't know, just that to me it seemed a lot that was going on, and not just this game. I think kind of like here and there, throughout the games. Anyways, that's just kind of like my take on what I could see. But they played great, obviously, right? we did a lot of good stuff, and it's always fun to see us. And I'm hoping that, like the guy before said, I mean, maybe next year, we'll get a lot of the young guys. Well, they actually look great, right? I mean, they had
Yeah.
there was like no fear.
No.
Just get up there and swing away.
Newey smoked the ball, and Abernathy, obviously.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, no fear. I like that. That's the pretty cool thing. I mean, I might have to come out there. I always joke with Tony about coming up there. I train with dogs, but I actually teach biofeedback. I never really tell them exactly what I'm doing, but I'll tell you. Maybe you'll understand. But I work with. Do you know anything about the head or the brain or anything like that? Like the thing, the amygdala, which controls your fight and flight, and all the stuff that those guys were having trouble with today with their adrenaline that you were talking about.
No.
No, all right. Well, you never had any problems up there where your adrenaline got too much?
Yeah, I have in the past. You got a reasoning for that?
Well, yeah. What I was going to say is, actually, I developed a new way to actually train that guy to work for you instead of against you. So it's pretty cool. I always joke with Tony about, driving up there. I'm a UT grad, but I live in Texas, so it's kind of far. But I would love to actually work with the pitchers. I could work with them all, really. It would be pretty cool to watch them actually stay in the zone the whole time that they were out there. That would be a pretty amazing thing.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, thanks for the call and or letting me call in and taking my call, and glad that I got to talk to somebody that actually played. That's pretty cool. So,
yeah, man. Good talking to you. The mental aspect of the game is so important, and I think the game has really moved in the direction of acknowledging that, and guys do train it now much more often.
Oh yeah,
It's
I will say this: if
improved.
I could literally tell you everything I could do, they'd have me up there tomorrow teaching these guys.
Well, you don't need to be telling me. You need to tell them.
Needs. Yes, what I'm doing is not even out there yet. It's not even. They haven't developed it yet. Most of the time they go through most of behavioral training is through the frontal, and everything has to be repetition and yes, meditation is of course all that is good stuff and all that, but being able to have the dogs that I have, they actually have an intensity level that allows you to actually control that particular guy, the guy that actually tells the guy to send all the adrenaline and all that. Yeah. So it's once you got control of him, oh man, I mean, we're talking like you can actually reverse what he's doing and then get him to work for you. It's pretty cool. And I know Tony doesn't understand a lot of when I tell him all the time, but here, I'll tell you this. If those pitchers would, and this goes for anybody listening, if they have a kid out there, breathing, you don't even have to do all the other stuff. Meditation is great though, and you should try to mimic it to it. But if you can take your breath up to the top, and right before you're getting ready to get to the top of your breath, that's when you want to start. And by doing that, you're gonna actually cancel out the adrenaline that's going to be released into your blood. So, and by doing that, like Michael Jordan, he used to, he'd always say, just do it, right? So I'm gonna tell you, it's part of my journal, right? Just in these 10 seconds. What he meant by that was when you start up and then you just actually do the action without thinking about it, that's what he's talking about. Just do it. Because if you think about the action, well, then you're going to actually then release, because now you've made yourself think about it, which then causes the adrenaline. So ultimately, like that 198 guy at the end, right? He changed his motion at the one time when he almost launched it to the far left at 98. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what he did is he went into his normal routine, but then he stopped, and then he went to go back again. When he actually sat there that length of time, he actually thought about it too much, and then when he went to go back in, he was already too pumped up. Anyway, that's just an example, but you can actually then, once you start gaining that, and then you actually got the other guy working for you, oh my gosh, man. I mean, you can literally just it's like throwing darts. And actually, that's what I would be coming and teach you. We wouldn't be playing baseball. We'd be throwing darts. But, I mean, that way I could teach you how to do it. But Yeah, it's pretty cool. But like I said, it's a new way to get with the PTSD guys, and actually train them to, get rid of all that's in their head, and as well as the special needs. I mean, so, it's a lot of other stuff too that goes along with it that, you get for just doing the biofeedback part. But, all the, what do you call it? Like the rashes and the, psoriasis and all that, that caused by, anxiety, all that disappears. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, once you get control of that guy, what I'm talking about. So, but anyways, that's just a cool little Band-Aid. If anybody ever, just try it. It's all about just taking your breath to the top. And as soon as you get there, don't think about going, just start your wind up. And I guarantee you will have success. And if you ever watch any of those pro pitchers too, just watch them. The ones that actually can paint the numbers, they're doing that. Now they might not know why they're doing it, but I can tell you why. But that's the reason. So, anyways, it was good to talk with you, Will. I'm glad you took my call. And if Tony ever does want me to come up there, man, I got some special dogs, man. I could actually help him out a lot. Now he might not actually go get mad anymore, but oh well. He might not get any more, intentional.
Yeah.
But, yeah, because he wouldn't be able to do it anymore, actually. His body would let him. But, anyways, good talking with you.
Yeah, man. Good stuff. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Garza Extra Innings, welcome in. You're on the air.
Hey, Will, Greg with you. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Greg.
Appreciate you doing this. Of course, you mentioned it before I got on. The Grand Slam previous strike call that wasn't made a strike, called a strike.
Yeah.
Would have
ended that
inning.
inning.
Out.
It was 3-1 at that point, but wasn't meant to be. Truly, I'm not going to harp on one, ball or strike. I mean, the guy really did make a good swing on 98 up and away from him. But also 98, or what was it, 89 exit velocity? I mean, that's 2 home runs in 2 days. Pretty big home runs that were under 90 miles an hour. So,
yeah.
Kind of tough luck there.
That's the way, the old cliche, the ball bounces. That's the way sometimes. And Tennessee's been on the bad side of those. But, I spoke earlier about Bargo, and he never pulled the trigger and replaced him in the game. They can always put him in during a game. But you had a kid, Abernathy, step in there. He could have played left field. I think he has before. But the thing about it is, he stepped in there and hadn't batted all week and hits the scoreboard on a blast.
Mm-hmm.
I love Coach Botello. He needs to tell all his guys, you're not in stone in the lineup. You're not in stone where we can't get you out of there. And you have to know you got to do what we expect you guys to do. And that's one fault that he has. He stays with them no matter what. Last at bat for Bargo looked terrible again. But you got to have guys in there that can put the wood on the ball and maybe extend it a little bit, pass the bat to the next guy. And it gets contagious when these guys get a little excitement going. We had no excitement to kind of pump up anybody. They just kind of went out and took their pitches, did what they've been doing. But Tony Vitello is perturbed off about how this game went, how the series went. And I'm sure that dude's going to make sure next season it's not going to happen like it did this year. But I'm proud of them. They got this far. A lot of newcomers are in there. And teams that just have to. I don't know.
Yeah. They did have a lot of newcomers. They had to replace a ton from last year, and I can assure you, man, they will be hungry and ready when February 26th rolls around. I appreciate the call a ton, Greg.
Yeah, you gotta make sure that you look at your players though and have the right ones out there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Abernethy, I think should have been out there a lot earlier. Thanks for what you do, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's easy to say that because he, came in and hit a homer. But we had mentioned it. Shoot, Dave's been begging for Abernathy for 2 months now. But here's the issue. I was telling TB this earlier. The difference in Tony's loyal, he's always been loyal to his guys, right? But when you have guys like Bargo and Chapman, and before the NCAA tournament started, Dean Curley, guys who were struggling, but they led you to a national championship. They helped you reach the pinnacle of your sport, of your profession. You got a huge contract, a bonus. A lot of things happen good for Tony Vitello and Tennessee baseball because of their contributions. So the emotional attachment, the loyalty that came along with that is just more than any other, than anything prior to that. And so I think next year, and Tony will always be loyal to his guys, but I think next year, considering what happened, this year, he may be a little bit more inclined to mix and match if things aren't going perfectly well. And I think that's totally fair. How can you fault somebody for saying, this dude led me to the mountaintop or helped us get there? How could I not repay him by playing him? You know what I mean? And so, and I understand it's a results-based deal. What have you done for me lately? I get all that. But those guys earned their way onto the field and earned their keep for a long time, and then they went cold at the worst time. Like, it's just, I think it's unfortunate, but I also can't. I'm not going to sit here and tell Tony that he was in the wrong for sticking with them. I thought he should have mixed it up going into, really even before today, because they were just that middle of the order was struggling so bad. I thought, even if you use the same guys, let's mix up the lineup a little bit and see if we can't spark something. But they didn't do that. That's not how it played out. So let's go back to the phones. TLD Logistics Hotline, you're on the air.
J-Bay Boscone.
J-Bay Boscone. All right, we lost him. Garza Law Extra Innings, welcome in. You're on the air.
Hey, Will, it's Dave.
Hey, did we lose you earlier?
No, I just now got through.
I got you. Your boy hit a 3-run homer.
Yeah. Well,
hey, you said it yesterday. It's good that they got here. Unfortunate that it played out this way. And as a player, I would much rather play a competitive game and have a chance to win till the end. But as a fan, I think it's a little bit easier to swallow the way it went today. Rather than getting our hopes up.
Even if they would have, let's say Doyle just goes out there, just pitches what Root did yesterday. I just didn't see that they had enough on the back end of their pitching to win the game 3. So, it just happened the way it happened today. But hey, listen, they made the super, and that's good for this team, considering they had some deficiencies, and it played out like it was supposed to play out. But I wanted to get to next year. I guess Bargo and Chapman will definitely be back, right?
I don't know.
Both juniors. They're probably not going to get drafted. So they're probably going to be in your lineup next year. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I just have a problem with her hitting in the lineup. You don't think both of them will be back?
I think they both have a chance to get drafted.
Oh,
or
you
signed.
do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I stand corrected.
I think Chapman certainly, because he had some helium as a high school prospect, and he had a pretty good start to this year. I think the raw power in that bat and the arm in right field,
Okay.
somebody will draft him and try to develop him. Bargo could be back. I could see him coming back as a senior, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. We'll have to see. The draft is shorter nowadays, so there's only 20 rounds. But the left-handed power bats as outfielders is usually something, especially if they don't have to spend as much of the, what do you call it, the bonus pool, the slot money, whatever it is.
Right.
Then they'll take a shot on them in kind of those middle teen rounds or something like that. But I'm certainly no scouting expert by any means, but I would imagine they have a chance.
Right. Well, really the big mystery to me in this whole thing was what happened to Hunter Hensley.
Yeah.
That's really the mystery.
Really struggled.
Because this guy had I mean, I'm talking about up into the SEC tournament, had a terrific year. Mm-hmm. And it just like in a flash, he just went. I mean, his whole body language was just way off. And maybe that was a result of how it was going for him. But
I don't know.
Go ahead, Will. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I don't know if that was a result of him feeling like he had to do more, or just a really unfortunate way for one of the most beloved Vols of all time, like Tennessee baseball Vols of all time, for his career to end. Really, really hate that for him. But I mean, unbelievable career for Hensley. He'll always be remembered for his eye black in Omaha, that slide. He had so many big hits for Tennessee. Even this year, had a ton of big knocks. But yeah, I don't know if he felt the weight of trying to carry the team, or he didn't have any protection down the stretch either, so maybe that didn't help. But also, sometimes you can get in a rut, and this game is tough.
And your comments a little while ago when you said you would have switched it up a little bit, and I have to agree with you. I just think I would have switched it up. I would have dropped Keelan and Fisher maybe in the 3 and 4 spot, or 2 and 4 spot. I would have mixed it up a little bit. Because man, after you got them at the top of the lineup, after that it was just, whew,
yeah,
it was rough sledding. Really was, especially this weekend.
Hindsight's 20/20, Dave. But what if you went Marin at leadoff, because that gives you a righty, and then you go Keelan 2, Curley 3, Fisher 4. That would just based on the obvious, because of today. Like, I thought Marin had some good at bats. Had the leadoff hit to start the inning that Tennessee loaded the bases.
Right.
So
yeah.
No. He was second. It was Peebles. Peebles led off with a hit, and then Marin got a hit. Or one of them walked. I don't remember.
You think? I guess is Peebles getting drafted? You think?
I don't know. I think he's got a chance as well.
Well, I wouldn't mind having him back, to be honest with you.
I wouldn't either. He came on late. Needs to improve defensively a little bit.
Yeah.
Keeping balls in front. Too many pass balls this year, and not all of them are his fault. But that was a real bugaboo. I think he throws the ball really well. When they started to give him a chance to throw people out, he threw some guys out, and his bat really came on second half of the year. So he would be a nice senior to have. We'll just have to see if somebody takes a chance on him in the draft as well.
Well, I think that's an important position to have a senior at. A guy that's been, and also a guy who, at that point, would be in the program his third year.
Yeah.
And just like we had last year, he struggled hitting too. but Starks. But he came on defensively, hit some big home runs, and he was a calming force with his pitching staff.
Yeah, he was an emotional leader as well.
Right, and those are so valuable. It's not you just can't put a price tag on that. But I guess we'll see. I guess Tony's gonna. I guarantee he's going to work tonight, and and we'll just have to get it going for next year. Y'all have a great day.
All right, Dave. Appreciate it. Tony will certainly be getting it going. I'd imagine he'll be at a ball field or hosting a visitor immediately tomorrow. So he may not even be headed back to Knoxville. He may just be headed straight to some sort of tournament. But we'll be right back, continue to break down the season and look at next year for the Tony Vols Tennessee Base Vols as they fall in Super Regionals and end the season with a 2-game sweep at the hands of the Arkansas Razorbacks. We'll be right back with you.
Get you back to the action here momentarily. It's Garza Law Extra Innings, presented by Marcos Garza and your Garza Law Firm. Online at garzalaw.com. Marcos and his team are your go-to law firm for a myriad of disciplines. When it comes to DUI defense, criminal defense, personal injury, Social Security, or disability, you want to deal with folks that are of, by, and for our community. People that you will see in Lindsey Nelson Stadium when the Vols are playing baseball the rest of the spring and into the summer. Treating clients like family. Don't you dare trust anybody else. Available 24/7 at garzalaw.com. Also presented by our friends at VIP Play. 200 leagues to wager on. All your favorite types of bets. The Eagle, ladies and gentlemen, in the state of Tennessee has landed, and the betting space will never be the same. Whether it's VIP Players Club sweepstakes offered monthly, whether it's Bet Assured in Tennessee or the VIP Guarantee, you got to check it out and see what Will Heflin is talking about, because I'm telling you, this man continues to get up, get in here, and do this program. So go over to VIP Play and give VIP Play a shot. Use the promo code TNTony when you do it. Again, TNTony. Bet $5 or more. You'll get your $100 bonus bet instantly. TNTony. Gambling problem? 800-889-9789. 21 and over and located in the state of Tennessee to place a bet. Of course, Will Heflin has a baseball problem, but that's another story for another day. Also, a special shout out today to our friends at Rather and Kittrell. RKCapital.com. Start planning your future today at RKCapital.com. Personalized financial planning, disciplined investment strategy, ongoing guidance and partnership. RK Capital can help you in so many ways. And we're also presented by our friends at Calhoun's. Calhoun's, your taste of Tennessee. Leave the cooking to us all baseball season long. When you're getting together for your Tennessee watch parties, Calhoun's is a wonderful thing. When you want to grab something to or from the ballpark, it's always fresh. It's always going to be wonderful. It's available for pickup near you. And remember, Friday home games mean we're live, and Will be with us some down at Calhoun's on the river. It's phenomenal. Like Hunter Ensley says, Calhoun's, we're champions feast. Or does he say we're champs feast? At any rate, it's the taste of Tennessee. Now let's get back to more on our TLD Logistics phone line. Online at tldlogistics.com. Load those phone lines up at 865-200-5402. That's 865-200-5402. Here he is. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Will Heflin.
Back with you as we welcome in Matt Dixon. Matt, give us an opening statement, brother.
Well, that sucked. Just a disappointing end to the season in a pretty non-competitive game after the fourth inning. The better team won. It's just kind of a shame Tennessee's bats just kind of went cold all weekend and couldn't be more competitive. And and even win a game and force a game 3 to put pressure on Arkansas. I mean, today it was just, you have the bottom of the third, you get the bases loaded with nobody out, and your 2, 3, and 4 hitters are coming up, and you get 1 run out of it, and then you turn right around, and Arkansas has the bases loaded with 2 outs in the top of the 4th, and wind up getting 5 runs, including a grand slam, and that was pretty much the game.
Yeah.
Had the quick pull for Doyle, who couldn't get out of the 4th, but it's a lineup that just hammers left-handed pitching, and kind of did that again today. I mean, even the Davalon and Maxwell, I think, are reverse splits guys. Davalon's hitting like over 460 versus lefties this year, and had hit the 2-run homer earlier. But just a disappointing result for Tennessee, that the struggles that guys have had really the last month or so of the season kind of continued. And you couldn't put up much more of a fight, but the better team won, and I think Arkansas is the most complete team in the country and definitely have the highest floor. I think LSU might have a little bit higher ceiling, but it's not by much. And those are easily the 2 favorites going into Omaha. Assuming LSU doesn't lose 2 straight to West Virginia.
They could. UNC just lost 2 straight after blowing somebody out on game 1, so we'll see. But I think they're probably in good shape there. And you're right, they are the 2 favorites. I would lean Arkansas slightly over LSU. Just more offense. I don't think LSU's lineup is nearly as deep, but we'll see. Let's go back to the phones. Welcome in. You're on the air. Garza Law Extra Innings.
Hey, Will, Zach, and E-Town. What's up, brother?
What's up, Zach?
I've been developing a system that you might be interested in, where I take domestic short-hair cats, pair them up with a hitter during the off-season, and help them recognize pitch recognition. Is that something you or Tony might be interested in?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Oh, man. Well, I got to compete with our dog dude.
Was he saying he pairs? I don't think he was saying that. I think he trained.
He's called a couple of times. I've never really, and I'm just kidding kind of, but I've never really understood exactly what the art is. But I was going to ask your opinion on taking out Doyle in the 4th with the quick hook. I mean, was that something you expected?
Not really, but and I had some of my buddies didn't like it. They said, if you leave him in there, he's the best pitcher in the country, and you get beat, then so what? You can live with that. But I don't think he had it today, to be quite frank. So I was okay with the move personally. As quick as it was, I think Tony realized how important the situation was, and so he wanted to get a different look in there, and it didn't work out. It was close to. Krenzel had Aloy 1-2, and then
they were one strike away,
yanked
right?
one, and then hit him, and then you go to. I guess you go to Russell next, or Krenzel face another hitter. I can't remember, but 2 wild pitches and then a walk and then the grand slam. It's like it unraveled rather quickly. So hindsight being 20/20, yeah, I would have left Liam Doyle in, but at the time I can't say that I disagreed with it because I was like, let's see what happens, because certainly Aloy is better against lefties than he is righties.
Yeah, it was. It's like you said. Looking back, I guess it looks poorly. But
Matt, what'd you think in that? Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Matt, did you disagree with pulling Liam there, or were you okay with it given the situation?
I guess I was okay with it because he clearly didn't have his elite stuff, and he was getting ready to face the top of their order for, I guess it was the 3rd time. And guys who barreled him up earlier, and again just really hammer lefties. So I could have gone either way. They made a choice, and it obviously didn't work out. But I'm not going to get on them for it. I think it's kind of a lose-lose whatever you do there. They kind of played the matchups the night before, and I think that one hit that home run, so they kind of did it, and they kind of went with the numbers today and brought in a righty, and you just didn't get that. Kind of like it's been the case all season. You didn't get that last strike to get out of the inning, and then you just let it unravel pretty quickly.
You know what's going to happen next when you don't get that last one. I mean, if you don't get that strike, what's getting ready to happen. So, Matt, are you still there? Or did you go?
Yeah, I was there. Unfortunately.
Well, I hope you have a safe trip back, brother. And Will, thanks for doing the show, man. I'll talk to Tony if he wants to work with me on the cat pitch recognition scheme in the off season. Okay.
All right, brother. Have a good one. Appreciate the call. Garza Law Extra Innings, welcome in. You're on the air.
El Jefe, not a great end to the season.
No. Not great.
Thanks for the outlet. Thanks for letting us get on here and vent once it's over. And I guess Matt's the real MVP. He went to Fayetteville.
That's right. But that's what we're here for, man. Get it off your chest. And sometimes I take flack for letting it go a little too long. But if I can't be a good ear for everybody, then what am I really doing?
Yeah, I'm not going to complain much about the best program on campus. I guess the best male program on campus, at least. I'll just stop at the best program on campus.
Yeah, I think
this team never really had it.
Not debatable, but pretty accurate.
I was going to say, the softball program's been pretty good, but they've not won a national championship, have they?
They have not, no.
This matchup was about as bad as it could have been for us, but the way. We had to face the best team left, and the way they hit lefties just really didn't match up well with what we like to do with our pitching and our bullpen.
Yeah, they were just playing better than us right now, and in their home ballpark, and I think it's fair to say that they were the best team left, but also you gotta. At this point, we can look back at last week and evaluate what happened, right? And everything matters. And I know we said going into the series that we thought the Monday game would be good for this team because it was a big win, it was emotional, and maybe they could use that. But Liam Doyle wasn't sharp today. And so you look back and you've got to acknowledge that, hey, maybe having to throw on Monday, I know he got an extra day's rest, but that was a big workload to have after on 2 days rest from a full start, and then turn around and throw in Fayetteville. So it just looked a little bit off, and now we can acknowledge that losing on Sunday to Wake Forest, having to play that extra game, having to use Liam Doyle, made it harder on Tennessee, and they weren't able to overcome that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how much of it was him being worn down and how much of it was just, this Arkansas lineup. And they hit lefties really well. And if I'm not mistaken, they have 300 hitters top to bottom. So there's no place to hide. I thought we took him out a little too early. Y'all just talked about that, though. There's no reason to beat that dead horse.
That's a totally fair take. I get it.
Who you going to really bring in that, you would trust more than Liam Doyle right there? But,
yeah.
Whatever the case may be, it was kind of ironic that we're the program that gets all the credit for hitting all the grand slams. But, I don't think we've hit a grand slam since March. When we had 8 before March, and then we haven't hit any since then.
We were on track to blast that record and never hit another one. That's a good point.
Here's a nitpicky question. And again, we talked about this yesterday. I feel like this comes up every time I call, but, speaking of Bargo again, Do you think that ball that grand slam was catchable? You know, if you had a really good left fielder in the game, probably nitpicky here.
It went over by inches, but I was thinking the same thing, that he almost caught it.
That's 2 games in a row.
Jay's pretty short, so I doubt he would have caught it. And Dylan Dreiling, I think, is shorter than Bargo, but I don't know.
Well,
if you had a taller left fielder, or maybe time the jump a little bit better, yeah. But it wasn't like it hit the
close.
top of the fence.
He almost caught it in real time. Like, he almost caught it. His glove was right there.
Yeah, Matt, he didn't make contact with it, did he, Matt? Like, he didn't tip the ball.
No, I don't think so. It was, really similar to the one in game one where he was kind of tracking it, and he was initially in front of the track, and the wind just kept carrying it. It just got so much elevation. But no, if you have Reese Chapman in left, maybe he could get it if you get a great leap and time it perfectly. But no, it was, it got over barely, but not where it like hit the top of the wall or anything.
I know you and Dave just talked about this, but I feel like Abernathy's home run in the ninth was kind of insult to injury there.
Almost made you feel worse, didn't it?
You felt it. I know. When I saw him hit it, I thought about you immediately. Whatever. It is what it is. But again, I really think it was a pretty good season.
It was.
Not many teams can go to the sweet. I call it sweet. I just said Sweet 16. I was arguing with my idiot buddy who's a basketball fan. Not many teams can go to the Supers 5 years in a row. Which is the basketball version of the Sweet 16. And let's not lose sight of Fisher. He got on base every game this season. I don't know if Tennessee's ever had a player do that.
Pretty good addition in the portal, huh?
Yeah, and speaking of the portal, we're going to have to be very active, I think. And I don't worry much about Tony V when it comes to bringing in talent. He's of all the major 3 coaches that we have on campus, he's the one I worry about the least.
You shouldn't worry about him at all. He's quite literally the best in the country at recruiting.
Yeah, the guy I worry about most, his season is about to start in,
me too.
In the fall.
That's a different convo for a different day, though.
Right. I don't expect. I heard some of your and Dave's conversation at the tail end. I don't expect more than 2 guys from our lineup to return next year. What do you think?
Yeah, you'll have Levi Clark for sure because he's a freshman, not draft eligible, and you'll have Manny Marin because he's a freshman, not draft eligible, and I think you'll end up with one of the 3 between Chapman, Bargo, and Peebles decide to stay and play their senior year. That's my prediction. I have zero inside info. I have zero reasoning behind that statement. That's what came to my head, so I said it.
Yeah, I could see Bargo or Peebles making it back next year. I don't think Chapman will. I think Chapman had too much hype coming in, and he's got too big of an arm. I think he'll be gone. Yeah. We're also going to be, our pitching staff's also going to be decimated. I don't see more than 2 or 3 guys out of our pitching staff that we relied on coming back next year either. Maybe like Krenzel, Loy, Coons, I guess, if he comes back.
We'll see. You'll get Anson Seibert back, who was out this year with injury. I believe he was the highest ranked incoming pitcher. He's like 6'9", by the way. He's a tree.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think what kind of role do you think he'll fit into next year?
I've never
Starter,
seen him,
reliever?
Never seen him throw. So I don't know.
He's a big lefty, right?
No, I believe he's right-handed.
Righty.
But he is tall. I've seen him in the dugout, and I was like, goodness gracious. Somebody get this guy on the hardwood. But glad he plays baseball. We'll see.
Well, man, again, thank you for doing this for us. I guess this will be the last time we hear from you for a while, other than, I guess on the Daily Show. But pretty good season. Not many teams go to 5 straight super regionals. I think we could have been matched up with probably 15 other, maybe 14 other super regional opponents and had a lot better chance. I think Arkansas is probably just the best team in the country this year. That doesn't mean they're going to win it. In fact, I think I'd rather see anybody win it but Arkansas the rest of the way. Maybe somebody will beat them. But anyway, see y'all later.
All right, brother. Appreciate the call. Matt, Arkansas is the favorite. I think we can all acknowledge that. But it's a wild tournament already so far, so it wouldn't surprise me a bit to see somebody else run the table in Omaha. If you had to pick somebody other than Arkansas, who's your national champion?
Other than Arkansas, gosh, I mean, the easy answer is LSU, but I don't want to pick them. I mean, North Carolina was playing really well until they kind of choked it away.
Yeah, they're done.
Yeah, so they're out. Maybe I don't know, because the left side of the bracket's the one that's going to be wide open because that's, a lot of the underdog teams. Maybe the Oregon State, Florida State winner would probably be my favorite to come out of the left side of the bracket, whoever wins that game tonight and gets there.
Give me Coastal. Give me Coastal. They lead the country in ERA.
They're 23-game winning streak. They're due to lose, unfortunately, I feel like.
Yeah, maybe so, but I don't care. They have
it is double elimination there.
They have two dudes at the front of their rotation, and the third guy's not bad either. I thought Auburn was playing really well too, and Coastal went in there and swept them. That's a confident group. But you're right, 23 in a row in baseball. That's a little worrisome, I guess.
Stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're playing well.
It is. Let's take a quick break. Be right back on the other side. Take some more calls. Talk some more this season, next season, all of it. Thanks for hanging out. Be right back.
We appreciate you listening to Garza Law Extra Innings, presented by Marcos Garza, your Garza Law firm. We'll get you back to the action here momentarily. Portions today presented by our friends at TLD Logistics. Online at tldlogistics.com. So much more than a trucking company. First of all, tremendous supporters of your Tennessee baseball Vols. You will see Jim Peters. You will see Kevin Herman. You will see those folks at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, rain, sleet, or snow. But the important thing is TLD Logistics does everything. Whatever your challenges are relating to shipping, you reach out to them. They're going to take care of you. They even helped out the recent Super Bowl, trucking something across the country to them. They can do it for you. And if you are wanting to become an owner-operator, do we ever have an opportunity for you? Check out tldlogistics.com for more information. Also presented by our friends at Simpson's Meats. Simpson's Meats raises and sources their meat on farms, on pasture, on purpose, comfortably continuing a tradition that began in 1888 on Jim Simpson's farm. I'm talking about a beef brand built on quality. I'm talking about, you're going to pay a little more, but you're going to get what you pay for and then some. Steaks, burgers, sausages, roast, chicken. They also have a variety of local offerings at their butcher shop, from milk to honey to jams to eggs. You name it, they've got it. Stop by and taste the best from the Tennessee community. And if you want to buy in bulk, they sell half and quarter cows as well. Steaks make a great gift. Gift boxes available. Ship premium meats anywhere in the world at simpsonsmeats.com. Visit their store in West Knoxville off Level Road and shop there today. Also presented by our friends at Connexial, Knoxville's own transportation and logistics tech company, proud sponsor of the My20 Drive of the Game, right here on Garza Law Extra Innings, revolutionizing your trucking industry nationwide. We want your fleet to be more efficient, our drivers and roads safer. We all want that. Take control of your fleet, improve your safety scores, make drivers happy. KONEXIAL.com, KONEXIAL.com. And now, without further ado, let's get back to the action on our TLD Logistics phone lines. Light them up at 865-200-5402. It's Garza Law Extra Innings, and here's the superstar, Will Heflin.
Matt, let's go right back to it, brother. Who's next? Welcome in. You're on the air. Garza Law Extra Innings.
Hey, Will. It's David Ackworth. How you guys doing today?
Hey, David Ackworth. Doing all right, man. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Hey, well, first off, congratulations. It was a really good year. Mm-hmm. I think they got as much out of that ball club as they could. I think today was disappointing just from the non-competitiveness of it. I was sitting there watching even Arkansas's team and fans, and it was like, it feels like a midweek regular season game to them. It's so uncompetitive. And that's what I hated. And, and I don't know, you tell me, you're a pitcher. Did Snead act like he even wanted to be on that field? He looked like he was completely checked out of that game when he came in. Did you notice that? He'd throw a bad pitch and turn his back to the catcher and kind of walk away and then realize, oh gosh, I got to go cover home. He just looked like he was not ready at all. And maybe that's because of the situation. He's a closer, but that was really disappointing to come out there and be so uncompetitive in that situation. I mean,
yeah. I'm trying to think of the best way to try to analyze it, because I really didn't even think anything of it in the moment, just because of the situation.
I know it was over. But
Snead had a really good career for Tennessee. Was one of the hotter pitchers on last year's run, but this year was frustrating for him. And
I'm sure
his season was kind of a microcosm of the season for the whole team, and so they really needed him to be a guy they could lean on out of the bullpen, and for whatever reason just got hit more than you would expect with his stuff. So disappointing end, but he's going to have a good career in this game. And
with his stuff, I think you mentioned it before on the show. How he doesn't get more swing and misses, I don't know, but I've never seen a guy throw as hard as he does that gets so few people to swing and a miss at a pitch. It's really weird, to be honest. It's not like he's just throwing flat fastballs up there either. That's just a weird thing to me. Just a question, were you surprised at all? I know it was the 8th inning. I know the game was pretty much over, but were you surprised they didn't pinch hit for Bargo in the 8th with 2 on and I guess 1 out?
Yeah, I was.
Lefty with the lefty. I was, especially he turned right around and bring Newsom in the last inning where it didn't matter. I thought, well, I know he's probably thinking, well, we don't have much of a chance here, but man, you never know. There's, look at the Braves and the Padres this week. I mean, the Braves were 1 pitch away from winning, and they got 9 runs scored on them in the 9th inning or some crazy stuff. And it's college baseball. Crazier stuff even happens in the majors. So I don't know. It just seemed like I was really surprised to see him out there against the lefty pitcher, and again, a pretty non-competitive at bat. So that was surprising. I do have one question, and it seems to be a general thing I see with the coaching staff, and I want your opinion on it because you've been there. And it may be a Frank Anderson thing more so than it's a Tony Vitello thing. But Tony Vitello all season, agree with him or disagree, he was a ride or die with Curley, with Inslee, with Bargo, and with Chapman. He rode and died with them. Now, I think it paid off with Curley this weekend. Curley swung a good bat this weekend. I give him credit. But the other 3 didn't, and I don't think you'd even take. I don't think you could take Inslee out regardless, just because that's your heart and soul. But he seems so steadfast and stubborn on riding and dying with these guys, yet walks into the 4th inning and takes his best player on the team out at the first real sign of trouble. Now, is that just because it's pitching versus hitting and fielding, and is that the difference, or it just seems like to me there was no trust factor there at all. There's trust factor with these guys that have repeatedly not performed, and there's no trust factor with the guy who literally walked into the stadium last Monday and threw his guts out, and you just take him out. Was there? And it seems like that kind of happens a lot, and maybe it's just a college pitching thing that I don't understand. Can you give some insight on that?
That's an interesting question. Matt, I'll let you go first. Why do What do you see there in terms of the difference?
I just think that it was kind of obvious that Doyle wasn't at his peak performance today, really for the second time against Arkansas. And while he was better than the first outing, he was clearly not pitching like he did for much of the year. And they just kind of did a matchup deal, and probably factoring in, Doyle's future a little bit, because I think he was already over 70 pitches. Had pitched Monday. I just think a lot of factors kind of played into it. And I just, the thing I thought was a little interesting there was it didn't look like Doyle was upset that he was getting taken out of the game. Like, I don't know if what they showed on TV, but you didn't have it. Like, he wasn't looking in the dugout telling them to stay in or trying to talk his way into staying out there. I think he was kind of resigned to how he performed today as well. But no, it's a really interesting question. It is intriguing. It's one I actually think we could talk about on air, and there's not really a right or wrong answer. But it's worth discussing. I'm glad we brought it up.
Yeah, the difference between pitcher and hitter, to answer your question, it is a real thing. Like, I guess it's just much more common to switch pitchers because it happens every game. Whereas you write your, position players are considered everyday players, where a pitcher only throws, once a week if he's a starter. So that's part of it. But I do think there's some truth into what you're saying, in that maybe it's a combination of Tony and Frank seemingly, more willing to move away from a pitcher quicker than a hitter, for sure. But when you put it that way, and you're talking about who you trust the most, it is a very interesting question that you ask. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but I think part of it
all
is
right. And maybe that is the answer. There is no answer to it. There's no right or wrong, and it's just I know Tony does a lot of stuff based on feel sometimes, and I just felt like, unfortunately, those moves that, as we always say with a manager, when they make them and they pay off, he looks like a genius, and when they don't, he looks like an idiot, and that's just the nature of that game. And you go with what you feel is best as a head coach. So that's certainly not an issue from my standpoint. As he does with his players, I'll ride and die with Tony all day long, and trust at the end of the day he'll get a whole lot more right than he will wrong. And I really appreciate you guys being there. Will, it's been a pleasure having you on. I'm certainly not going to hold our slide against you, considering you came on board almost coincidentally with it. Even though baseball people are very superstitious, I'm not going to hold that to you. I'm going to hold this one again on Tony for picking us to win the series this weekend. You guys have a great one. See you.
You too, brother. Also, don't forget, Matt, you don't forget, and nobody forget, I was right in the thick of it for the Ascension as well. So, and I'm talking about the program Ascension, not just for this one season. Let's zoom out here. When
things actually had an impact on the field for the program.
When things look bad, you got to zoom out. So, 5 straight super regionals, and your boy was a part of the first one. So let's go back to the phones. I didn't need that jab there, is what I'm saying. Garza Law Extra Innings, welcome in.
Hey, Will, this is PTR. I used to be a very frequent caller to the old show, but I'm getting a little long in the tooth and that sort of thing. Really glad you're doing this. And kind of to follow up on what he said, it's tough that y'all got this thing kicked off during a tough time. But you know what? It's a good year. You hit the highlights. 5 super regionals. I was going to start off my call by saying I was at UT when Bill Wright was the coach. So I remember us not even qualifying for the Hoover tournament year after year after year. So this is glorious to me. 5 super regionals in a row. I'm very happy with that. Will, the guy that you think dropped on your call, you need to ask Matt or Tony after the show. That's the guy we call the smallest of all minds. He's crazy. Tony will fill you in. Go back to Liam Doyle. And I don't know that I'm right or not, but here's another theory to maybe what happened today. That guy plays with what? Every ounce of energy and fiber and caring and desire that he has on every pitch. He expended so much energy emotionally and physically probably last weekend. He may not have been right yet, because what he did last weekend was, for a pitcher to do that the way he did it, that sort of rest. And did he pitch 2 1/3 innings?
Yeah.
In the fourth game?
7 outs.
Incredible. I was sitting here in awe watching that. So I don't know if that kind of took a toll on him too. Plus, that's a hell of a stadium to play in. That is a good baseball team. And they've been struggling. So I don't know. I think emotion may have had a little bit to do with it. Matt made a good point about him not being animated looking back at the dugout when Tony came out. They did show one close-up, and for a brief second, Matt, he had a don't come take me out look, but by the time Tony got to the mound, you're right. He seemed okay with it. So that's why I was almost thinking he was just out of gas. I'm ready to move on next year. You touched on a couple of things that scared me, Will. I didn't realize that many people were leaving. Although I know, don't we already have like 3 or 4 commitments in the portal?
Yeah, we do. I don't know that we have any hitters yet. We've got a pitcher from Kennesaw State, a grad transfer from UNC Asheville, and a grad transfer from the Division III school in New Jersey. But here's the deal about it's kind of different than last year because you're losing some everyday guys, but guys like Jay Abernathy, Chris Newstrom, Blake Grimmer, Levi Clark, Stone Lawless. Like, there's 5 guys that played a lot that didn't play every day, and Levi did down the stretch. But I mean, that's a one hell of a core group to build around. And you're right, you definitely need a guy in the portal, a couple to fill in some gaps and just create competition and maybe some veteran presence. But Tennessee is in a really, really good spot with where their roster is at moving forward. And oh, by the way, they have a top 2 recruiting class coming in again at the high school rank. So
okay, that's where I was going next. So my question to you is, I knew we had the number 1 or number 2 signed class. Does that include any junior college people, or is that just the freshmen? Just high school kids, the number you just gave me?
That's according to Perfect Game, so I think it's just high school, but I'm assuming there's some junior college. Oh, they got the Tyler Myatt kid from Walter State. I'm sure there's some other junior college guys I'm forgetting. I know they're trying to they're getting close on, I believe it's the number 1 pitcher at the JUCO level, but he might be a big draft risk as well, so we'll see.
All right, that's the next question. So how many freshmen do we have signed? Is it 6? 5?
No, it'll be he's bringing in, I think it's like 20 in this class. 20 to 25. Okay. Yeah. Tony Vitello brings in.
Let's go with the top 10 then. The top 10, how many of those guys out of that top 10 of that 20, or whatever number it may be, are possible draft risks?
One of them for sure. He's like he's a top 5 overall prospect.
Is that the guy that just committed like a week or 2 ago?
No, it's Billy Carlson. He's been committed for a while.
Okay. All right.
But he's gone. Guys, and then a couple, you've got, I don't know if I'm allowed to say anybody's name. I apologize if that was not allowed. Whoops. But it's on Perfect Game, so I guess
you're good. There's the shortstop from Alabama that's a projected first-round pick as well. He's got a kind of a cool-sounding name.
Cruisecraft? Is that who it is? Okay, so Tennessee's got 25 high school commitments. 8 are in the top 100. So anybody in the top 100 is probably a draft risk. You've got Cruz Schoolcraft, who's a 6'8" left-handed pitcher, is from Beaverton, Oregon. He's like a top 20 guy, so he ain't coming. And then you've got a lefty. You've got another shortstop from Alabama, Steele Hall. Is that who you were talking about, Matt?
Yeah. I've seen him projected as a first-round pick.
Fair enough.
And anybody that gets drafted is almost certainly going pro
as a high schooler. Yeah, because they kind of have the deal in place before.
Yeah, they have a number, and so yeah.
Interesting. Tennessee has 1, 2, 3, 4 catchers coming in, Matt Dixon. 4 high school freshman catchers that are signed. Now, some of them are bats that I'm assuming they're going to move to the outfield or first base or somewhere like that. But 4 high school catchers. One of them from Hardin Valley, Colton Denton.
I've heard some good things about him. Hey, listen, I'm going to get out of the way. Will, I'm glad you're on board. Matt, good seeing you again or talking to you. You have a good day. Thanks for taking the call.
Yeah, man, good to talk to you. The point being there is that Tennessee will continue to funnel talent in as long as Tony Vitello is at the helm and as long as the University of Tennessee gives him what he needs, which is something that they need to continue to do and probably will have to navigate even further now that the House settlement deal is in place or whatever. But I sure hope that the administration and the powers that make those decisions understand how important baseball is to Tennessee because, quite frankly, it is the best sport on the campus. And I know it'll never be the most important because that's football, and I'm totally okay with that. But if baseball is your only sport that's got a national championship in the last however many years, I guess women's basketball was the last time you won one before baseball, maybe you should, make it as much of a priority as you can, is all I'm saying. Matt, let's bring in our next caller. Garza Law Extra Innings, welcome in. You're on the air.
Hey, Will, this is Gary. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Gary. I'm all right. How are you, man?
I'm good. Hey, just right off the top, I want to say thank you to you and to Matt and to Tony for doing this show. It's been a pretty cool thing to be able to get on here every Sunday or Monday and talk some baseball. And there's been more good than bad. And, man, we're just going to reload. We lost to a better team. That team was just better than us pretty much at every phase. Not a lot better, but a little bit better at every single phase. And they're probably going to go on and win the College World Series this year.
Wouldn't surprise me if they did, but it's been a weird tournament, so wouldn't surprise me if they lost both of their games in Omaha and went home. But we'll see. They are the favorite for sure.
Yeah, and I think they're going to. I mean, Tony just reloads. I mean, he's just a madman recruiting, and he just reloads. And next year, we're going to be right back in the thick of things, and we got a lot to look forward to. We got a lot of good talent coming in, and the stadium will be brand new and completed hopefully next year. And that's a nice little feather right there as well. And we're going to keep building. That was one. I'll say this. I'm not going to stay on very long at all, but I do. That was a very interesting caller a couple callers ago that he brought up about the kind of the loyalty or the trust factor there with a position player compared to a pitcher kind of in that position. And Will, I know when Tony comes to the mound, he doesn't come to the mound to just talk. He comes to the mound to make a change. Frank's guy's coming to talk, coach up, whatever, talk about the situation or how you're going to pitch somebody. But when Tony comes, he's coming to make the change. And they're just going to. That's an interesting dynamic of the loyalty and how much of that is just Tony's gut. I mean, well, I know he's talking to Frank and Josh over there as well, but how much of that is Tony's gut that he's making that call, Will?
Ultimately, it's his decision, and it's tough to do. I'm telling you, I coached not this summer, but the 2 previous summers, I had basically the same group. I had a 16U team, and then I had a 17U team, which is high school juniors, and did summer ball. And I was making the pitching decisions. And I'm telling you, on Sundays when it wasn't pool play, it was bracket play. And this is not even sniffing the level of pitcher or just, competition that those guys are dealing with. The stakes are much lower, much lower. But it is so easy to kick yourself after a bad decision or one that didn't work out. And it is very, very tough when you're sitting there looking at the pitch count. You're looking at who's coming up next. You're thinking about who you have ready to come in. That is what he gets paid, the big bucks, to make that decision. And so whether or not the one today was right or wrong, we won't know, because Liam Doyle could have, given up a grand slam to Aloy, and we'd have been in the same spot anyways. Or he could have left him in and gotten out of it. You just don't know. Hindsight is always 20/20. But that one certainly didn't work out in our favor, and that doesn't necessarily make it the wrong decision. It still could have been the right thing to do. The players got to execute as well. So, but it is a lot based on feel and some on analytics. I think they've done a good job in the program of implementing that, and also sticking with more old school. What feels right in this situation? Who do you trust? What's your gut telling you? Because there will always be a place in that for sport, because these are humans playing the game. If the computer could decide for you, there would be no reason to play. And it's an interesting conversation about how they make those decisions, and it's easy to look back on them and really try to dissect them when it doesn't go well. But at the end of the day, they just try to put the guy on the mound who has the best chance to get the out in front of him, and I think it's that simple. So Aloy way better against lefties.
Was that the at bat that Frank started to come out but then stopped, and then maybe Liam threw over a couple of times the first, and then Tony came? Is that the way that went?
Frank came out. So Davalon was up. It was first and second. Davalon came up, and on the 0-1 pitch, it kicked away from Peebles. So the two runners on moved to second and third. Now you've got a base open, and Davalon's just destroyed the baseball all weekend. Aloy really didn't do much. So they intentionally walked Davalon and then make the switch. So Doyle was actually being left in to try to get through it, and then they decided.
That's when I thought Frank started to come out to talk to him.
Well, he did come out. He came out before Davalon. Okay. And then the second visit, you have to pull him. It wouldn't matter if it was Frank, Tony, you, or me. You make a second visit, he's got to come out of the game. And so, it was just, if that ball doesn't kick away, then Doyle probably finishes the at-bat to Davalon. If he gets Davalon out, I would guess that he stays in the game to face Aloy. But he didn't, and it's bases loaded, one out, and you've got Aloy, so he's way better against lefties than righties, so they go with Krenzel, who has a good slider, and he made Aloy look dumb on it for 2 pitches and then hit him. So very unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, again, man, I just appreciate you and Matt for what you guys have done this week or this year with the baseball. Hope you come back and do this again next year, Will, and we pick up this show and just this is. I still think there's so much room for college baseball to go and to grow, and especially the Tennessee Vols.
So, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. He's exactly right, Matt. He's exactly right. And we will be back, for sure. But college baseball is growing. It has grown a lot in the last half decade, and it continues to grow. And that makes me happy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And games being televised, or at least being able to stream virtually every game, has been so big for that. And now it's, especially in the postseason, getting a bigger and bigger platform on TV with these, primetime slots on weekends. So, yeah, it's a growing sport that has a lot of interest. And I thought, the NIL stuff probably helps retain some of that talent in the game. We'll see about all this house settlement and rev sharing and how that affects the game as in addition to that, the 34-man roster limit that I think is supposed to start next year, which I think is crazy given the amount of injuries, especially to arms. I'm not sure how they'll be able to do that, but it's a sport that is continuing to kind of skyrocket, and that's really good. And Tennessee's kind of at the front of it, and one of the premier brands in the sport. love them or hate them.
Yeah, it's awesome that Tennessee discovered, actually invented baseball in 2021, which some fan bases give us flack for, which I guess is kind of fair. I mean, it wasn't nearly as popular around here until Tony Vitello, and we don't argue that. It wasn't. It wasn't. It didn't have any reason to be. So people throw it at us like it's a jab. It's like, yeah, okay. That's how it plays, you know? So we'll be right back. Let's take one last break. Back with you on Garza Law Extra Innings.
We'll get you back to Garza Law Extra Innings momentarily. I do want to remind you, portions presented by our friends at Performance Medicine. Take control of your wellness, personalized health solutions that fit your lifestyle. You will be so glad that you got out of the rat race and the way you understand healthcare right now, because that's exactly what Dr. Rogers did several years ago. Comprehensive proactive solutions empowering you to achieve optimal health on your term. If you're tired of feeling drained of energy, you're struggling with your weight goals, maybe you dream of radiant skin, maybe you're hoping to start a family, say goodbye to cookie cutter healthcare. PerformanceMedicine.net for more. Check out their YouTube channel at Performance Medicine. Also presented by our friends, my friends and your friends at Alumni Hall. Listen up, baseball fans. Step up to the plate. New gear from Alumni Hall. Don't you dare swing and miss by shopping elsewhere. Alumni Hall absolutely has you covered. You can shop in their 3 Knoxville locations where you'll see the best selection, the top brands for you to choose from all season long. They also have a shop in Bristol, one in Murfreesboro, and for you listening to us around the world, they're online anywhere in the world and available to you at alumnihall.com. The ultimate Tennessee shopping destination is Alumni Hall. And a special shout out to our friends at Dos Equis. Celebrate another successful Tennessee baseball run all season long by going for Dos, Tony Vols. I'm talking about Dos Equis. Lager Especial, a golden Pilsner stout made from the choice of hops, balanced composition, smooth, clean finish. Party guest always invited, never overstays as welcome. Nuanced blend of malts and earth tones, flavorful yet light tasting and smooth. Balanced composition, clean finish. That, my friends, is Dos Equis Cervezas Mexicanas 2025, White Plains, New York. Now let's burn up those TLD Logistics phone lines and get you back to the superstar. I'm talking about the host with the most. I'm talking about superstar Will Heflin. It's Garza Law, Extra Innings, Tennessee baseball style. Hit it, Will.
Back for our final segment of Garza Law Extra Innings for 2025. I'll be with Tony plenty, but baseball season's over, so no more extra innings after today. But appreciate everybody who's called and or listened. Let's get a few more in, Matt. Welcome in. You're on the air.
Hey, this is Russell from South Carolina.
Hey, Russell.
Yeah, I didn't catch much of the game today. Unfortunately, the only play I did get to see was the Grand Slam, working the golf tournament. Just wanted to see what kind of your grade was on the season, with going 20-0, and then falling off, and then a little resurgence, and kind of what should that expectation be for the program going forward? Being over here in South Carolina, they're kind of like supers or bust mentality, and it seems like some of our fans are getting this Omaha or bust mentality, which is a very dangerous game to start playing. Just kind of where you feel about the season and how you feel about it going forward, because I feel fine with the season. Just to get supers, awesome, right? So you go ahead.
Oh, that's a tough question. I hadn't really thought about a grade. Matt, what comes to mind first for you? I'll punt and make you go first. What's your grade on the season?
No, it's fun. Probably a B plus. Obviously, didn't have quite the year you maybe we're hoping to, but in terms of what defending national champions do, you kind of overachieved, but you went about as far as this team was going to go. And the late season sliding conference play, forced you to play at Arkansas in a super. And that ultimately got you beat. If you were hosting and playing a team that maybe you're better than, you probably win and get back to Omaha. But as far as like the expectations, my kind of generic goal every year is to host the regional. I feel like if you can be one of those top 16 and host, that's a really pretty good goal to have. And then you just kind of take your chances from there. Obviously, some years your goal is to be a lot better than that and to be a national seed or be the number one overall seed, even that they've done twice now. But just every year, if you can just be a host for that regional, I think you're in position to make a deep run. So that's kind of what, without knowing the roster and without knowing kind of where Tennessee's projected in preseason polls, just, hosting a regional is kind of my expectation and goal every year, at least for the time being, as long as Vitello's here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, over here, they're kind of a little livid with South Carolina baseball. I'm not even making it, but their goal kind of supers. I didn't know. I was just trying to judge where we were at as a program, and I think you answered it quite well. I think hosting is where we need to be and be happy with, and then baseball turns into baseball at that point. But, Will, you can go ahead if you're ready.
Yeah, man, I do tend to agree in that it can be a dangerous game to play if you're saying every season is Omaha or bust. The tournament is extremely hard. You look at how many top 8 seeds, how many top 16 seeds didn't even make it out of the regional, much less make it to Omaha. And so for me, if I got to put a letter grade on it, here's the deal. I don't think you can give out an A if you don't make it to Omaha, and I think that's because of where this program is. For other programs, if you host a regional, like Matt said, that's immediately an A for most programs. Now, whether it's fair or not, for Tony Vols, he has set an abnormally high, a ridiculously high expectation that he loves and wants. So the goal wasn't met. So you can't make it an A. The other thing is you have a top 5 pick in Liam Doyle. You have a top 50 pick, we'll say, in Marcus Phillips as your first and second starter. You've got a top 50 to 75 pick that you kind of got as a late season free agent in AJ Russell, if you will. You had a top 20 pick in Gavin Keelan, probably, could be top 20, could be top 30, we'll see. Draft hadn't happened yet. And then you've got Andrew Fisher, who will go in the first 2 rounds. And then you've got Dean Curley, who will go in the first 4 or 5 rounds. With his last 2 weeks, he could have climbed back up into that second, third round range. So that is 6 guys in like the first 2 early days of the MLB draft on the roster. So the talent, I know you lost so much, but this was one of the most talented teams in the country, and you held the number 1 ranking at one point, and you had the best start in program history. So kind of disappointing the way it ultimately ended up, but you made it to Super Regionals. So a lot of things pulling in different directions here, which I think a B or B plus is fair. And anytime you get to Omaha, it's automatically an A. And if you get to Omaha and you're like the favorite to win it and you don't, then maybe you could go regular A minus. Like if national champion to you is the only way to get an A plus, then okay. But I don't know what the curve is. What's the grading scale we're working with here? But I think a B feels fair, and I think the coaching staff probably hate, like any coaches hate when you grade a season because they're looking at it from, did they raise young men well? Did they compete their tail off? And all that other stuff is kind of beside the point. But I think they would tell you they could have probably went a little further, and they also overcame a lot, and so they've got a lot to be proud of on this team. Go ahead with your question. Sorry.
Yeah, one last question, and then I'll get off. What was kind of, and we'll never know, but it feels like it just never, it never just ended up just clicking and just gelling entirely. And maybe that's just a factor of expectation and different groups of guys and just a different team. It's not really, I don't even know if you blame anybody for that. It just may just be a factor of the year, but is there anything that you know that you could expound upon on that? Or is it just, that's just kind of sports sometimes and it's just kind of what happened?
No, I understand your question. I think it's valid, but I can't point to anything. I was always very confused why this team didn't seem to punch back as often as you see Tony Vitello teams typically punch back. Like being down 4-2, being down 5-1 before the fifth inning in years prior. Was kind of like let's just let's see what happens. And this year it just never felt that way. After the A&M day, the one day.
Could it have been a bullpen thing?
Yeah, at times it was, and at times it was an offensive thing. This team did not play complementary baseball. Matt and I have talked about that till we were blue in the face. Matt, is there one thing you can kind of put your finger on, or is it just as simple as it was kind of, if it wasn't one thing, it was another, and that's kind of how it went?
No, it's not one thing, because it was just constantly either your pitchers couldn't get that final strike and get that final out of an inning, or your bats couldn't get that, final hit of an inning to drive home that one or two runs. Like you were always missing something. And I don't know. And, this team has a lot of talent. You just talked about the draft rankings and all that, but they just didn't have that dude that you could kind of lean on to, hey, Christian Moore's going to hit a home run to lead off this game after we just lost the night before, or Blake Berg's going to rope a double and score a couple of guys. It just never felt like this team had that guy that you could just kind of rely on to come through in the clutch. And it's probably unfair to pin that on one guy, but just as collectively as a whole, the team just never had quite enough to overcome all the mistakes that they just continued to make throughout the season. And then pitching wise, you didn't quite have the depth, especially in the bullpen, like I think the last couple of teams have had, and really that we had become accustomed to. And a couple of guys just didn't have as good of years as they did last year. Let's just be honest about it. I mean, Snead kind of struggled for much of the year. Russell, you didn't get a ton of innings out of him. So it was just a collection of things that kept you from getting over that final hump so many times.
Yeah, I think one thing was, the bullpen never really had a true closer, and I know you don't necessarily have to have one in college, but in years past they've at least had a guy who we knew was like first on the totem pole in trust, and he would get the ball right at least one.
He always had 3 outs in him.
At least one time a weekend to finish a game. So he was kind of, not necessarily a closer. They could use him in other situations, but that final guy, right? And just didn't really have that this year.
Well, I'll get off. I just want to say thank y'all for a good season and doing this, and proud of the boys, and getting the supers has been a rare thing in baseball for Tennessee. So it's been fun, and we're going to run it back next year. So best of luck to y'all, and enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. We're going to run it back, Matt. That's what he said. He's probably right. Welcome in. You're on the air. Garza Law, Extra Innings. Welcome in. Snooze, you lose. Welcome in.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, I give this year a B+.
B+?
Honestly, I was satisfied.
I think that's fair. I don't know if I'm satisfied, but I think B+ is a fair grade.
Well, I mean, you
I
always
won a
want
national
more, but
championship every single year, you know?
Yeah, I'm not dissatisfied, put it that way.
Yeah, I'm not either.
You know, it wasn't that long ago. I was counting how many wins, maybe trying to get to 30 to get in a regional, and counting from the bottom, looking up, how many would get you in the Hoover. So I'm staying positive on this. I'm not disappointed anyway.
I'm right there with you, but we also, you know, it's a new era. Like this program is a well-oiled machine, and so
yeah.
Trust me, I hear you. I was in the same boat, unfortunately, for longer than I preferred. But
I appreciate you guys on those teams you was on that laid the groundwork. I appreciate you, by the way.
Thank you. There were a lot of guys who contributed, and Tony Vitello pulled the thing together. But there's been a lot of good dudes come through the program the last couple of years, and I think that has led to how it's gone and how it will continue to go because of the culture they have in place. And that's why good programs continue to be good, and it's easier to win having won before. And so, that program momentum, not just within one game, but within a program year over year, is a real thing.
And I'm sure Coach Vitello is going to be front and center at the draft this year. I don't know that for sure, but I would imagine he is.
We'll see.
I'm looking forward, though, on all the freshmen that played this year and got a lot of innings. How do you project them as far as the jump from freshman to sophomore and where they might play?
I might be the highest on Chris Newstrom. I think he is a real player. I would imagine he moves to infield. Maybe second base is his everyday position next year, or maybe third, and you slide Manny over to the middle. Matt, who are you highest on from that core group of freshmen going into next year?
Well, I actually think Marin's closed the year out really well and really strong. So him with a year working with Q in the weight room, I think he can be a breakout guy. We've talked about Abernathy before, how I like him. I think he might be your leadoff hitter and center fielder the next 2 years. But I really like him, and he ended the season well. Levi Clark, I think there's obviously a spot in the middle of the order for him. And then Blake Grimmer is kind of a guy that's probably been forgotten about a little bit, but he's absolutely demolished a couple of balls in midweek games. We'll see if he can make the jump to SEC pitching. But I think he's one of those kind of versatile guys. You can play at a lot of different spots. But no, there's plenty of talent there that we saw in a little bit of some play this year in the midweek. But I think there's a lot of those guys I'm really high on. I think a number of them can be high impact players for a year or two here before they ultimately go pro.
Does Stone Wallace, does he project to make a jump up and get some more innings catching, or is he destined to be a DH, or what about Levi Clark? Do you think he'll be a position player going forward?
Yeah, I think Levi, most likely will be a corner outfielder next year. I think he could transition to be a catcher, but I don't know if it's better off for him just to play in the corner outfield and mash. Yeah. But I don't know.
I think I'd put him in left, or maybe even try him at first. But I think his bat's too good to put behind the plate.
Well, you talk about a monster after you're in the weight programs. Well, he'll be for being a true freshman. He's pretty impressive. But anyway, I'll let somebody else get in here. Thanks, both of you guys.
Yeah, man, no problem. Appreciate the call. Welcome in. You're on the air.
Will.
How we doing?
What's up, man? This is Sam.
What's up, Sammy?
Dude, that was unfortunate, man. I mean, I don't know. It kind of all came to a head there where we were worried about, and it just never clicked there at the end for Bargo or any of them boys to get a hit. But I tell you, he did, dude. Abernathy crushed that ball, and I mean, when you sit here and talk about what, I was going to make some funny joke and complain about all the pulling pitchers and make a funny joke about coaches and what is he doing. But anyway, dude, my first question, well, actually my first comment is Matt and Will. It's just been, who would have thought that he'd have a post-game baseball show and get to bring you guys on here. It's been incredible and deservingly so for y'all too. And just this program to where it is now, it's just been phenomenal, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. So my question is what did Peebles get thrown out for in the game the other night?
He said a bad word.
That would have been the last weight game.
Yeah, he said a bad word, Sammy. He said a cuss word.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when their pitcher and I get pretty pissed off when we lose, so I don't really call. I just but when their pitcher's out there pointing at our guys and just dog cussing them, like, I don't understand where, and nothing said to the kid, like they warned both teams or whatever the hell happened. Like,
I'm not sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because that Root kid, now, Grant, I know you're in the moment, and I get it, and our team has definitely been there, but for us to get a kid, thrown out of a game, and then he's up there just, plain as day, just pointing at our guys, and I don't know. That kind of was aggravating to me. But, dude, what he's done and will continue to do, it's tell Andy and all them over there, it's unbelievable. You talked about the kids he's bringing back, and all of them are going to be studs. I think they all look really good.
They do, man. They're in a good spot. We appreciate you a ton, Sammy. We'll holler at you. Matt, any parting thoughts, brother?
No, not really. It's a disappointing end, and a shame that Tennessee couldn't put up more of a fight and really at least take a game out here. But it was a tough year that you just like we talked about earlier, this team just never could quite figure it out and play that complementary game where you kind of played clean, but when you didn't play clean, you just didn't have guys. You just couldn't pick each other up. You just never could quite find that. And it is what it is. You still wound up being a host, and you won a regional, got to a super, and lost to a team that might wind up winning it all. So it's still a really good year. And the future is, obviously really, really bright, but it's been a lot of fun doing these post-game shows with you, Will, and getting to know you. You kind of on the front end of this deal, which is pretty cool. I'm sure you're thrilled the program is still, at the top of the sport.
It is for sure.
Hey, Matt, poor Will, he looks roached. This is Tony. Hey, Matt, I want to thank you, man, for all your great coverage all year, everything you do for us at tclub.team. I'm glad you got to go out there and experience and see Arkansas with a bunch of our fans. And I want to personally thank both you and Will for tremendous stuff this year, guys, and kind of keep me out of the hospital. And Tracy Flynn, I want to say to you, I love your son. I love him. I don't like him. I love him. I appreciate him. Will, I love you. I mean, you are a wonderful young guy. My home, mi casa, your casa, brother. You and your lovely wife. I appreciate you guys very much. Matt, I hope you have a safe trip home. And really proud of our baseball team as well. Will said it earlier, Matt, before you jumped in here. But basically what he said is those guys represented. They gave it their best. You know, there's some guys on that team are going to make money playing baseball. Most of them are going to make money in life and have an impact. And, you know, the program's got a great trajectory. And there's no crime in losing in a spot like that today. So, guys, thank you. We might have lost.
No, you can't win the national title every year.
Can't do it every year.
That's just even Tony Vols can't do that.
Nope. I tell you what he can do, though, Matt. He can affect the weather. I've gotten my first email from a guy telling me I need to investigate how Tony did his thing on that Friday night against Auburn because the season was never the same. Who gave Tony that weather forecast? Somebody sent me an email. I'm supposed to investigate. So I guess I'll get back to you on that. But I always love when we lose and people come out of the woodwork, and it's always fun. Will, thanks, man. Thank you, Matt. Hey, Matt, have a safe trip home.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed it. So go Vols.
Buddy. Go Vols to you.
Appreciate you, Matt Dixon. As always, smart, intelligent, classy. Thank you, Tony Basilio, for letting me sit in your chair and do this program. I love you, man. Thank you to everyone who listened and called in. I'm going to give some bad football takes here in a couple months, Tony B. I'm excited. I'm excited for football. Cade Klubnik is a dog. Clemson is going to be really good this year. Jeremiah Smith is hands down the best player in the country. I don't think that's a hot take at all. Arch Manning, we'll see. I don't know if Texas is going to be as good as everybody says they are. That's a tough schedule. Go to the Shoe for your first start. They got to go to Georgia. Everybody's a little too high on them, in my opinion. Look at me. I'm sitting here lobbying for Tony to get me in on the college football stuff. But, hey, look. Tennessee's got Joey football. We'll see. They might be okay. Might be a tough year for Josh and the boys. But they're going to try. So we'll be back with you at some point, but not on Garza Law Extra Innings until next February. But thank you to our sponsor, Garza Law, for sure, for sponsoring this program. Signing off last time, yours truly, Thrill Billy Will. As I was coined last night. We didn't Doyle enough today, that's for sure. But love this team and love all of you guys. Vol Nation, I'm out. Super Regionals fall 2 victories short of a third straight trip to Omaha. What would have been the 4th time in the last 5 years. There will be a new champion for college baseball this season. Arkansas is the first and only top 5 seed that will advance this year in the tournament. North Carolina fell today in Chapel Hill to Arizona. They were the 5 seed. So Arkansas, the highest seed remaining. LSU at 6 also remains. And then after that, you'll have Florida State or Oregon State. They'll go off at 9 p.m. tonight in a winner-take-all game 3. Coastal Carolina, Arizona. Looks like Louisville has punched their ticket. Duke and Murray State are going to game 3. So there's your picture of what remains. We're going to talk about